Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host Flavia Barris as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur.
Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Nancy Kay Coy. She is the author of Stop Selling Dammit and a business growth strategist who helps entrepreneurs replace pressure-based selling with trust, alignment, and better conversations. With over 25 years in financing, sales, and business building, Nancy teaches solo founders how to stop chasing the yes and start solving the real problem. Welcome to the show, Nancy.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. I love your book title. Tell us a little bit about how you got into what you do today, because I love hearing people's stories. They're always sometimes unexpected, but we all have a path we followed to get to where we are today. What was your path?
Yeah, great question. And it was absolutely a journey. I didn't even know that this was the path that I was going to end up on, but started my career in capital medical equipment sales and offered providers around the country methodologies to be able to say yes to an equipment acquisition. So give you an example, like maybe a fetal monitor. And I started offering payments to providers to make the acquisition easy based on maybe what insurance was going to reimburse, or if it was an out-of-pocket procedure, how much reimbursement was going to be. And so that's really where my originated, and a lot of which I've spent most of my career in healthcare and dentistry, really helping to shape the money conversation around closing cases, solving, never selling. I just didn't know what I was doing at the time. But in that, I ended up founding a company called Healthcare Finance Direct, which is now today one of the largest patient finance companies in the country. Sold my interest in that entity in April of 2016, and then did consulting for a couple of years, started another company, and then I've written, as you know, a couple of books, and also am the CEO of a company called FinVerified.ai. So my pathway has really been all about patient affordability and how patients can capture or say yes to the care that has been prescribed. And affordability is one of the biggest barriers. So my legacy, I guess, if you will, is to be instrumental in solving that pathway so more people can get, again, the care that they want to need.
And that's amazing because there's a lot of carryover. So, the same sort of techniques that you can use to help somebody make an important decision about, let's say, like the health of their mouth, or maybe they need dental implants or something going on there, is probably the same process that in a lot of other fields service providers are dealing with day to day with their customers or clients or patients. So what are some of those commonalities that are industry agnostic? So it doesn't matter whether you're a dentist or you are selling some other service, but what are the carryovers that you just see over and over and over in every industry?
Again, great question. Patients, like any other consumer, no one really wants to be sold. They want to be understood. And most people that are buying anything purchase on emotion. And I talk in the book, I call it GRIP, and it's growth, relief, identity, and protection. Patients, consumers tend to fall into one of those four buckets, and I call them drivers, when they are making any type of acquisition. And that is consistent whether you're sitting in a dental practice like you shared, or if you're at Home Depot buying a paint color for a new bedroom. We're just very emotionally driven through our own, just through humanity. And so people, again, really have one of like I said, those 4 buckets that they fall into. And it's really kind of synonymous based on what somebody wants or what somebody needs. And the other thing too is so much of this is it's some people will say it's intuition. It's not, it's neuroscience. One thing that's really consistent is, especially if you're sitting in front of a patient or a consumer, their what again driver will usually speak before their actual, so their body language speaks before the words come out of their mouth. And if you're looking for it, you can see it. And when you start to see it, you can't unsee it.
Well, I think that people that work in sales sometimes have the best stories. I would love to hear some of your studies, some of the stories of entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or service providers that you have helped overcome maybe poor technique or just, where they're working against themselves or even in some ways kind of working against the interest of their client by not helping them make an important decision that would really benefit them. Do you have some favorite stories? I know you probably have to keep it anonymous and you can't share names maybe, but there have to be some case studies that come to mind.
I have a lot of, in fact, in the book, I write quite a few stories because I think stories share the reality and it makes it come to life for so many more people. But I'll use a story. Again, I can use a story going to a mattress center on a Saturday afternoon looking for a mattress. I can use a scenario of investment, somebody raising investment capital all the way to purchasing capital medical equipment, mergers and acquisitions. It all kind of comes together. But for the dialogue, we'll use an investment story because I think a lot of solo entrepreneurs, and I work with several of them, are looking to raise capital. And what happens is we build this pitch and we practice the pitch till we almost memorize it. And we get on the phone and we start dialing for dollars, trying to get investors interested in our product or service. I'm a firm believer that you're better off to attract because being even working in venture myself, you get solicited so much that to find a different path works so much better. But again, so I'm a big fan of creating ways to attract investors to you. But when we get in front of that investor, we get that meeting. A lot of times we go into the dialogue and we are telling them everything about our product or service. The better way to do that is to ask questions. And we a lot of times fill the gap, like when there's silence in the room. Salespeople are notorious for just keeping talking. A lot of times, what we want to do is back up the train a second and let the silence do its work because we overload people. And I use an analogy in the book that, and this happens so often with tech entrepreneurs, is somebody will ask them about the technology and they will basically tell them how to build a watch. I didn't ask you how to build a watch. I asked you, what does it do? What is it at a high level? So when we, in the investment engagement, slow down and take the time to understand the investment thesis, what the investors are looking for, those are the times when we move from the pitch deck to due diligence. When we go in and just sort of share all of our information and sort of dump it on somebody, we find that people push back because there's a shift in the energy. I use this a lot in the book, or I use the analogy of this in the book too, that we all remember in high school when somebody had a crush on somebody and then the other person sort of liked the person in the beginning, but then the energy sort of shifted. Like, I don't like this person as much. Maybe they're not opposed to that person, but they kind of back off. Well, the same thing happens in life and in business. So that's just, again, one scenario. And really a lot of people, like I said, they have a tendency to sort of keep talking when those gaps are present. And sometimes we need to slow down and let that friction surface so that we can answer the questions that are coming up.
So less of a sales pitch and more of a conversation. And I get that. I mean, I think there is something to be said for living in a world where we are constantly given so much information. It's almost overwhelmed. And if you're making an important decision, yeah, I don't think you want to walk in and be face to face with someone and just receive a fire hose of information and I guess persuasive speech when really you want to learn. You're there to learn, but also to have a little bit of back and forth.
Absolutely. I think most people are really more interested in outcomes than they're interested in the smartest person in the room. And I had to learn that because I am in it really in a niche in my primary business. And I thought knowing, kind of everything and around my business or whatever was going to be able to help. But when I really sort of shifted and got into more alignment with my clients and listened to them, their needs, that the world changed.
And how did you come up with your book? And what is the book structure? I would really like to take people through it so that if somebody wants to have just a deeper dive into this, they could pick up that book and read through it. Because I know you included a lot in there about this philosophy and just a lot of useful information as well.
Yeah. So, how I originally started this book, this is actually my third manuscript. And the intention originally was because I am in primarily healthcare and dentistry, doctors, as a general rule, are not great business people. And we want them to be concentrated on their giftings, but they are quite adverse to the word sales. And I have been a firm believer for many years. You're not selling a patient anything. You're offering them access. You're offering them hope. Patient, we do all this marketing today. You didn't do that when I started in healthcare, but now we do. And I think we've done a pretty good job of getting the marketing across the table, but then we get the patient in the door, we get the patient in the seat, and then the momentum stops. And I call that the bridge between diagnosis and decision. Well, that's really where that money conversation happens. And the bridge is broken in most practices in the country, whether it's compliance. I mean, there's a multitude of issues, but that's really where I started with Stop Selling Dammit, was to help these doctors understand that different industries still perform, still behave. It's humanity, right? If you're in a medical practice, and we started the dialogue this way, if you're in a medical practice or you're at Home Depot, people are people, and they buy based on usually one of those emotional grip drivers. So I started there, and as I was writing the book, and because I've worked in a lot of different verticals, but healthcare is just my mainstay. But I thought, you know what? This applies to every area of life. And then I expanded it to a mattress transaction on a Saturday afternoon, and just a multitude of other, like I said, other stories and things that I've witnessed over the years. But I just brought it all together so that people could understand how this could be applicable in their environment. So I tried to make it a really easy read so that people could just implement the methodology quite easily. So the framework of the book is, of course, the welcome and the forward, who my business partner who happened to bring caller ID to the world, Rick Hennessy, spam risk. So thanks to Rick, when you see spam risk come up on your phone and ring special ringtones, that was all him. And so he did a forward, which was fantastic. And then I dedicated the book to a gentleman who has been very instrumental in my life on the venture side, taught me a ton about building companies and raising capital. And I became a venture partner with his organization. And then I talk about what we do today and how we chase the sale. And we're trying to chase the yes when solving earns it. So I talk a little bit about what happened in my own life, that I was going through sort of a bump in the road And I was chasing the yes. And the more I was chasing the yes, I felt my customers more back off. But when I got back into alignment and put the needs of my customer and my ears really on and started really digging into where my customer, what their needs were, then things really again started to shift. So I talk about the the kind of the reasons why, and then how to do it. So that, and then, but I use a lot of stories of I did it this way. If I'm doing it the sales way, and then I do this rewind, let's do it the solve methodology. So then I talk, so I kind of go through all of those a handful of different scenarios, and whether you're consulting, whether you're selling a product, whether you're selling a service. And then I get into really culture and why this has to change from a culture perspective because it makes a difference in in EBITDA valuation of companies today. And you just said it a few minutes ago that so much of the world that we live in, we're on this information highway and things just happen so fast and we're so used to instant gratification that we buy products and services, but our returns, our refunds, our disputes are at an all-time high.
Wow.
And we have to be able to step back and say, wait a minute, this is a cultural shift too, because when we just buy something and there's not any alignment, and you can think about if you bought a product or service on Amazon and did you really, oh, I got to go take it back. I didn't like it. Was there, we didn't even, a lot of times we didn't even think about it. If I bought a product or service, but I had a conversation with somebody about it, now there's a shift. And the conversation needs to be, of course, somebody that knows the product and service, but somebody that knows it well enough to be able to have the dialogue so that they can solve my problems or my needs or my wants with the grip methodology. And so then after that, there's really, for companies that want to learn how to shift the culture a little bit, they understand that you don't want to just be looking at Slack because we got is third quarter and we've got the green light that we saved the quarter, everything was great, we got big sales in the door. But if fourth quarter or Q1 of the next year we end up with a negative number because we weren't solving, we were just selling, that's where this becomes extremely important, especially for companies that have the potential to be acquired, sold, or just overall looking for growth or again, capital. So those numbers are huge.
And so it's not really, just about sales that people right now, we're all listening to you and we're all thinking, okay, what are we selling? What are these conversations we're having? And also who is helping us make decisions about what to purchase, whether it's software or a mattress, like you said, or, dental work or whatever it might be. But let's step aside from sales as the topic of expertise. And there are people listening who want to be you and not necessarily teach others better sales techniques, but they may have expertise in something completely different, but they want to be you in that being an author, a consultant, having your lifestyle. So tell us a little bit about your work. What is it like to be a consultant and an educator and someone who, has written a book and now teaches concepts from that book and also offers consulting? What is that like? How does that contribute to a lifestyle that might appeal to a solopreneur who wants to be a lifestyle solopreneur?
Yeah, the fact is, I think most people at one time or another want to be an entrepreneur. And it's been a huge blessing in my life because I've been self-employed for, goodness, this month, 27 years. So I think that the one thing that is imperative is in any business that you're operating in, integrity has to be paramount. And you have to be willing to go through the highs and the lows. And being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. You know that, and I know that. There's been times where the education was phenomenal and the tuition was outrageous. And there's been times when I've hit grand slams. But what really makes an entrepreneur is the ability to be resilient, to stand in and continue to show up even when it's hard. It was funny. I'm dealing with some family issues I think I shared with you, and they're hard family issues. And my father is aging, and we're dealing with some real extreme issues with him. Last night, I had to get a proposal out to a client. I had to go back to work at 11 o'clock at night, and I finished about 4 o'clock this morning. So why? Because I had given my word that I would get this proposal done, and my integrity and the integrity of anybody is one of the biggest things that I look for. And it's not easy to take the high road when nobody's looking. But I think that's, again, I think those are some of the characteristics that have been modeled my career, and why I'm certain it benefited from the success I have, because my customers know that they can trust me. I get a lot of referral business, and that is the greatest business, of course. So I would say that to somebody that wants to be a consultant, if you decide you want to do that, do your very best to be their very best, but always be learning. None of us are perfect. You're going to make some mistakes. The other thing too is make sure that you model how much time you have to build your company. Businesses don't go out of business, they run out of money. The other thing is to realize that every single business that you start is flawed. Our job is to take the business from flawed to viable. And there's a lot of growth that happens between a company that from a zero to $1 million. That to me is the hardest company to build. Once you get to 1 million, then to 10 million, it's a different company. So I guess those would be those would be the thoughts that I would have around if somebody wanted to be a consultant or an entrepreneur, and find something you love to do, that it's in your heart, that you absolutely love to do, that you would do even if you didn't get paid.
And do you prefer working one-on-one, or do you like working with teams and teaching groups? What's your preference?
I do it all. I kind of do it all because I built companies and I've been a solopreneur, and I've done it all. There's times that I really like one-on-one with people, but I'm working with a couple of gals right now that own a company that they're launching, a dental company, and it's both of them. And I look forward to the hour every week that I get to spend with them. And then even this afternoon, I'm teaching a class to a company that has a tech company. And there's probably, I don't know, probably 10, 12, maybe 8 to 12 people on that call or something. And I really enjoy that too. So it's a great question. I'm not answering it very well because I just really think that it comes down sort of to my why. And my why in healthcare is for more people to have the care that they want and need, because that affects every single American. When patients don't get the treatment that they need at the clinic level, the stuff doesn't get better. You end up in an acute environment, and that's just more expensive. And it's sort of a domino effect. So I love what I do. So I think I really don't have so much of a preference in that, but I really do love getting to know people at the heart of why they're doing what they're doing.
And I think it's so interesting that you're somebody who teaches about sales, but then in order to get clients, you actually have to engage in sales because you have to pitch your services and explain it and have people say yes to learning how to get other people to say yes better, right? It sounds so circular, but you get to kind of do the thing that you teach in order to grow your own business. So what is new for you in the next year or two? What do you have on the horizon that you're excited about for your business in the short term?
Yeah, well, one thing that was really even more to your point about the title of the book is Stop Selling Dammit. So it's like, you all can go to sell this book, right? So that was one of the trickiest things that I figured out as soon as I put we started getting the book in market. I was like, okay, how do I do this? But on the horizon, really right now is as far as Stop Selling Dammit is concerned, is really to teach that methodology at more the community level, where people get together, learn the philosophy, and have immediate reciprocity where they can start working together at perhaps a seminar and start using the methodology, get to know people in their community so that they can start working together and get an immediate ROI. So that's one of the ideas that I'd love to really build around Stop Selling Dammit. And as far as, so that's more on the prioritize side, and because I still have obviously my consulting company. So I'm working with providers and helping them increase case acceptance within regulatory compliance. But then the other thing I obviously do is I'm the CEO and co-founder of FinVerified, which FinVerified is basically SOC 2 for healthcare and dentistry. We're building that. Technology is built, but we're launching that in the market to all healthcare, all dentistry, audiology, vet, anything where a prescription is written and there's money exchanged in healthcare or dentistry. So that's really the big project, major big project that's on the horizon.
Well, that is a huge project. So for anyone listening that wants to follow up with you, and it might be about FinVerified, or it might be about sales, or maybe both, how would they get in contact with you? What is the best way to connect with what you're teaching, what you're up to, and also where to get your book?
Yeah, so you can find me at nancykaycoy.com. That's NancyKayCoy.com. You can find my book on Amazon, Stop Selling Dammit. And you can also find me at finverified.ai, and that's FINVERIFIED.
Nancy, it's been so fun chatting with you. I love this conversation. There was, we weren't selling each other anything, but I will tell you, I'm sold on you and your concepts and your philosophy. And I just thank you so much for all that you do to help others. And like you said, you have this ripple effect because through your work, more people are getting the care, the medical care that they need to just make them a healthier person. So you're really creating these ripples. Thank you so much for what you do in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be here and enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me on.
Guess what, lifestyle solopreneurs? If you don't yet have an online business earning you enough passive income to live the life of your dreams, I'd like to suggest you consider trying out Kajabi. Kajabi is an all-in-one solution where you can create and teach online courses, publish a paid newsletter, launch a free or paid podcast, process payments, build one-on-one coaching portals for your clients, and much, much more. I personally use Kajabi to power numerous successful and profitable online businesses. Lifestyle solopreneurs, there's a free trial of Kajabi waiting for you at this link, www.kfreetrial.com. You can try Kajabi for free, no obligation, by going to www.kfreetrial.com. Again, kfreetrial.com, and that K stands for Kajabi. Starting an online business helped me break free from that corporate grind, and I hope it does the same for you. You have nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, and see you next time.